U-2 is an American high-altitude reconnaissance aircraft operated since the 1950s by the United States Air Force and the Central Intelligence Agency (CIA). It provides day and night, high-altitude, all-weather espionage, and it inspired the rock band named U2. Lockheed Corporation originally proposed the aircraft in 1953, but it was approved in 1954, and its first test flight was in 1955. It was flown during the Cold War over the Soviet Union, China, Vietnam, and Cuba. U-2S took part in post-Cold War conflicts in Afghanistan and Iraq, and supported several multinational operations. The U-2 has also been used for electronic sensor research, satellite calibration, scientific research, and communications purposes. The U-2 is one of a handful of aircraft types to have served the USAF for over 50 years, along with the Boeing B-52, Boeing KC-135, Lockheed C-130, and Lockheed C-5. The newest models entered service in the 1980s, and the latest model, the U-2S, had a technical upgrade in 2012. The U-2 is currently operated by the USAF and NASA. The design that gives the U-2 its remarkable performance also makes it a difficult aircraft to fly. The U-2 was designed and manufactured for minimum airframe weight, which results in an aircraft with little margin for error. Most aircraft were single-seat versions, with only 5 two-seat trainer versions known to exist. U-2 variants were powered by Pratt & Whitney turbojet engines. The U-2S and TU-2S variants incorporated the more powerful General Electric turbofan engine. High aspect ratio wings give the U-2 glider characteristics, with an engine-out glide ratio of about 23 PR1, comparable to gliders of the time. To maintain their operational ceiling of 70,000 feet, the U-2 had to fly very near their never-exceed speed. The margin between that maximum speed and the stall speed at that altitude was only 10 knots. This narrow window is called the coffin corner, because breaching either limit was likely to cause airflow separation at the wings or tail. For most of the time on a typical mission, the U-2 was flying less than 5 knots above stall speed. A stall would cause a loss of altitude, possibly leading to detection and overstress of the airframe. Very sensitive to crosswinds, which, together with its tendency to float over the runway, makes the aircraft notoriously difficult to land. As it approaches the runway, the cushion of air provided by the high-lift wings and ground effect is so pronounced that the U-2 will not land unless the wings are fully stalled. For landing, U-2 is accompanied on the ground by a chase car, which is driven by a second U-2 pilot who assists the landing U-2 by reporting the aircraft's altitude. In practice, once the aircraft has descended to an altitude of 2 feet above the runway, the pilot initiates a stall, and the aircraft falls from this height. Chase cars and live calling of aircraft altitude are necessary because the landing gear is not designed to absorb the weight of the aircraft when falling from altitudes much above 2 feet. Instead of the typical tricycle landing gear, the U-2 uses a bicycle configuration with a forward set of main wheels located just behind the cockpit and a rear set of main wheels located behind the engine. The rear wheels are coupled to the rudder to provide steering during taxiing. To maintain balance while taxiing and takeoff, 2 auxiliary wheels called pogos are attached under the wings. These fit into sockets underneath each wing at about mid-span and fall off at takeoff. To protect the wings during landing, each wingtip has a titanium skid, After the U-2 comes to a halt, the ground crew reinstalls the pogos. Then the aircraft taxis to parking. Because of the high operating altitude and the cockpit's partial pressurization, equivalent to 28,000 feet pressure altitude, the pilot wears a partially pressurized spacesuit, which delivers the pilot's oxygen supply and provides emergency protection in case cabin pressure is lost. While pilots can drink water and eat various liquid foods in squeezable containers through a self-sealing hole in the face mask, they typically lose up to 5% of their body mass on an 8-hour mission. To decrease the risk of developing decompression sickness, pilots breathe 100% oxygen for an hour prior to taking off to remove nitrogen from the blood. A portable oxygen supply is used during transport to the aircraft. Since 2001, more than a dozen pilots have reportedly suffered the effects of decompression sickness, including permanent brain damage in 9 cases. Initial symptoms include disorientation and becoming unable to read. Factors increasing the risk of illness since 2001 include longer mission durations and more cockpit activity. Conventional reconnaissance missions would limit pilot duties to maintaining flight paths for camera photography. Operations over Afghanistan included more real-time activities, such as communication with ground troops, increasing their body's oxygen requirements and the risk of nitrogen bubble formation.